So legitimacy is one of the key challenges that boards and managers of cooperatives have to try and address. Legitimacy is really a generalized perception that a cooperative's actions are appropriate or desirable, that they don't violate strongly held norms in society or the way that people think a cooperative ought to behave. And there's two forms of legitimacy. There's internal legitimacy and external legitimacy. External legitimacy is the way that the cooperative is perceived by external stakeholders, so governments, the broader public, funders, and external legitimacy is important for cooperatives to establish so that outside stakeholders think that that the cooperative is engaging in activities that benefit society, that governments don't feel they need to overly regulate the activities of cooperatives. Internal legitimacy is the perception about the cooperative among internal stakeholders, so among members, among suppliers, and different kinds of stakeholders that interact on a regular basis with the co-op. So the perception that the co-op is providing members with things that they value, is helping them meet their economic and social needs, and just in general acting in a way that the members would like to see their cooperative act. So legitimacy is a cornerstone of one of the a cornerstone challenge that boards face, and the way that boards address legitimacy and try and ensure that their actions are legitimate are, first of all, by collecting information from the different stakeholders about their activities, about what their future strategic plans are, about major decisions, being very transparent about why sometimes hard decisions have to be made. Things like closing a credit union branch in a small community that where there isn't a lot of business anymore, or closing a grocery store where a small town has maybe made it to the point where there's not a lot of people living there, or they're shopping elsewhere in more urban centers for their groceries. So just being really transparent about hard decisions that have to be made, and also setting up structures within the board itself to ensure that management decisions have enough oversight, that the board is thinking about decisions from the perspective of the different stakeholders. So all organizations require stakeholders to perceive that they have a social license to operate, to perceive that their actions are proper and desirable within society's broader norms, and beliefs about what organizations, how they should operate and how they should contribute to society. But for cooperatives, legitimacy is particularly important because people think that cooperatives should also operate differently than traditional kinds of businesses, investor-owned firms, that profit maximization is not the primary or only objective in a cooperative. Sustainability is important, and for that reason, profits often matter, or making sure that revenues exceed expenses, but that is just one very small part of what a cooperative does. And so the co-ops and co-op boards often struggle a lot more with trying to ensure that they can maintain internal and external legitimacy, especially because the stakeholders are often much more diverse.